What's up, guys? Lance, the Obscure Movie Guy, coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. Today's video is done in partnership with Indie Horror Junkie, so be sure to go to indiehorrorjunkie.com to check out all of their offerings. The latest issue of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine is set to drop Friday the 13th. It is the 3-year Indieversary magazine edition. 3 years of Indie Horror Junkie being what they are. It's $5 for a downloadable PDF, $20 for a printable copy shipped straight to your door. There's also the Indie Horror Junkie podcast every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. New stories to go over, new people to talk to, new movies to talk about. And then, of course, we have the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival, which will be showcased at MegaCon in Orlando, March 19th to the 22nd, coming up in just a few weeks. And you can also check out the program for the film festival if you order your copy of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine. We're going to have a full spread on all of the features and short films and everything showcased at the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival for this year, so be sure to go check that out. Now let's dive into today's video from 2025. It's Behold.
It's been rough, Peter.
We've talked about this so many times.
I know. But I'm doing better.
I actually believed you when you said you would be doing the work. You look unwell.
Oh, I'm sorry that I am struggling. What was I supposed to do? Huh? Just move on like you? Slap a smile on my face and pretend like nothing ever happened?
Dear Heavenly Father, I ask you once again for your patience and healing upon Rebecca. We know that sometimes it can be extra hard to change our spirits.
Give me the strength to stand up to my demons, Lord.
Something is going on here, Peter. At first I thought I might be hearing things. What was that?
I don't know.
He's here! Behold stars Brian and Lana Barron as Peter and Rebecca and tells the story of a mother who is battling anxiety, depression, alcoholism, and possibly a demon as well. Calls upon the help of a reverend to help her try and get to the bottom of what is essentially haunting her and her house. Now, the movie opens up with a short and concise opening sequence of a group of churchgoers praying over Rebecca as she is herself praying to help fight her inner demons, this alcoholism, this depression, this anxiety that she's dealing with. Now, around the 5-minute mark, you do get the realization that there is a child that does exist somewhere in this universe. You're not 100% sure what the deal is with the kid. You don't know if he's alive. You don't know if he's missing. You don't know if it's just a divorced family and she's not able to see them. The way the story was written was actually kind of clever, and I'll dive into it a little bit more, but you only get little snippets here and there. But around the 10-minute mark, you also hear a crying child in this setting, and then you hear random noises in this house, and she calls Reverend Peter to come by, and it's kind of weird. It kind of leaves you asking questions like, why call Reverend and not the police? What exactly is going on in the first few minutes of this film? Now, I don't want to give too much away in the way of the plot, because the way this film is written, it's written as Shrek would say, like an onion. There's layers to this this film, and every once in a while they peel one of those layers away and you learn a little bit more about the characters. You start to understand where the child is, and then you start to understand who Reverend Peter is. You start to understand why Rebecca is feeling this way. They don't give you everything at once. They give you little bits and little bits throughout the course of the film until you get to the climax and you get to the ultimate reveal of what has happened or what is happening with this child and this family with Rebecca. Now, from a fundamental standpoint, the film's pretty good. It's pretty well written for the most part, as far as the main plot goes. Um, Camera quality is really good. Picture quality is good. There's no audio issues, which is usually one of my biggest pet peeves. Um, and the acting is pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. It is a small cast. You basically have Rebecca and Peter and another character, Miriam, as your three main characters. That's it. There's not a lot of anything else going on. There's a few people in the beginning as far as the churchgoers go, but beyond that, you have three major players, and they all do a really good job with their characters. And as I said, the story it's very layered as far as what they're revealing little bits at a time, so it's pretty cleverly written in that way. The acting is what really showcased for me in this film. There's also a really good use of music and not using music. I mean, obviously, oftentimes music is used to create tension and ambiance throughout the course of the film, which they did do. But one of the smartest things I think that they did was there were certain times where they didn't use any music. They just went with silence and ambient sounds, which really allowed the focus to be showcased through doors creaking or floors cracking underneath their feet. Just because you're in this big house, it's a big empty house. It's just Rebecca. There's random noises coming from a room upstairs. She doesn't know what they are. And to select specific times when to showcase music, but also to showcase just ambient sound effects added to the tension brilliantly. Now, being that it's basically just Peter and Rebecca as the main characters of this film, Lana and Brian Bannon, um, there's a really, really good power dynamic between those two characters. And it's very back and forth as far as that power dynamic goes. Sometimes he's the one that's controlling the power, sometimes she's the one that's controlling the power in their relationship. Um, and you don't necessarily understand why until much later into the film. Um, but incredible acting. Now, I imagine these two, from what I can tell, they're married in real life. So the on screen chemistry isn't a problem. It's there when it needs to be there. But it should also be noted that as a married couple in real life, they do a really good job with that chemistry, uh, being, negative as far as like their characters arguing back and forth with one another. And the arguments are very intense. This isn't like just bickering for the sake of the plot or some sort of like comedic flair. It's very intense back and forth between these characters. It's not a normal, I wouldn't say it would be a normal argument between a married couple in real life. It's very intense arguing for very specific reasons. The acting for me in this film, again, spot on. Part of that power dynamic is with the way the characters recollect certain things, or in some regards, observe different things. Um, Again, trying to not give too much away in the way of the plot, but the characters seem to remember certain events very differently. Whereas in current times, Rebecca is able to notice things sight wise, while Peter is able to notice things, hearing wise. Um, and it wasn't necessarily anything like they've got special powers or anything like that. It was just the way the characters were written. They were written specifically to observe different things differently, and it works. It flows. It's a very good ebb and flow with these characters in that regard. Um, and again, you find out why a little bit later as the film progresses as to what the relationship is, why the dynamic is the way it is. It's very interesting. Now, as far as the horror aspect of this film, because it is advertised as a horror film, it has horror elements, um, as well as the film is written in regards to the overall storyline, and as good as the acting is, it does have some shortcomings when it comes to this horror aspect of it. I'm not 100% sure what they were going for with this horror aspect. To try and break it down as bluntly as possible, there's it's either an angel or a demon in this house. Um, Unfortunately, that part never really gets explored a whole lot. You're left with a lot of questions in regards to the horror aspect of this film. Um, you know, where did the demon come from? Or angel? We're not 100% sure if it's an angel of death, if it's a demon. Where did this entity come from, basically? What is its purpose? it does seem to be serving some retribution. Um, but was it sent there by a specific, other being? A lot of that is just unexplored. And while it still does kind of work with the storyline, um, the way the story is written is very much as a drama more than anything else. Um, and I almost kind of wish they would have leaned into the horror aspect or the drama aspect a little bit more, but that they did a little bit of a mix with both. Um, and I don't want to say that it didn't work, but I don't think it worked as well as it could have if they would have concentrated more on one or the other. Again, trying to not give too much away in the way of the plot, but the story, it's not completely unheard of. Basically, Peter is a reverend. Obviously, Rebecca's a part of the congregation, and she's been, dealing with alcoholism, depression, anxiety, and again, we have this, kid that we're not 100% sure, what happened to, where he is, what's going on, and a lot of that comes to light towards the end of the film. Um, but throughout the course of that film, Peter being the reverend that he is, I mean, with all the weird things happening in the house, there's certainly some biblical and Christian aspects of the film as well. Um, Not necessarily in a good way. Um, I saw some reviews where they said it was more of a Christian film, which that's completely wrong because it doesn't paint Christianity in a very good light. I'll be honest with you. The Christian in me did not like and this is just my own personal opinion. I'm not holding it against them, but the Christian in me did not like the geopolitical messaging at the end with Christianity in regards to the child. Um, but I'm not the target audience in this in this scenario, I guess. Um, and again, that's nothing against Peter and Rebecca or Brian and Lana in this case, who wrote the films. Um, but that horror aspect and that Christian aspect, it can work, but they didn't lean into the horror enough. The little bit of horror that they did do, I will say, was very good. There is some very cool special effects with the entity. And again, the ambient sounds that they used and the music that they used. So the aspects that they used as far as the horror aspects were actually done pretty well. But the overall horror in the film itself wasn't very good. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, as far as the Christianity goes, the parts that they do bring up, because Peter is a preacher, they did do some things right. He does quote some Bible verses which were accurate. Um, and there is some, things to kind of allude to his Christianity. Lightning strikes in the backyard, and there's a burning bush. And he sees it as a sign from God. And eventually, as things start to unravel a little bit, we've got blood over the door, which is very much from Passover. So they did get some of that stuff right. Um, so both of those worlds probably would have worked a little bit better, drama, Christianity, horror, if they would have leaned into one a little bit more than the other. Unfortunately, I don't know if there was budgetary constraints as far as time or anything like that as to why it felt a little incomplete as far as the horror went. And again, despite my own personal beliefs with Christianity and the way I feel like it was represented in the film, does not negate the fact that this film was actually pretty well written and pretty well executed. The biggest takeaway for me, I'm not familiar with Peter or Lana Barron as writers, directors, or actors in any way, shape, or form, but I was really, really impressed with the way the story was layered. Like I said, you get a little bit here, you get a little bit there, you get a little bit there, and I like the way that they kind of led to the grand reveal. Now, the grand reveal itself is what fell flat for me. That was the geopolitical messaging, and I'm like, there it is. That's what it is. What it is. But the way they wrote the film worked very well, despite how I feel about it, personally. So, like I said, despite my own personal feelings, I can't deny the fact that it was well written, it was well executed. Does it have its shortcomings? Absolutely. Um, but I think overall, like I said, I'm not familiar with these people. I haven't seen any of their previous work, but I thought this was actually pretty damn good. And I read some of the reviews online, and some people lambasted it. And I was like, it's got like a 2.8 rating on IMDb, and that's like way too low. It really is. It may not be for everyone, Um, but it's definitely not that bad of a film for sure. And the acting, Lana does a great job in this. Peter does a very good job. Like I said, there's a few scenes where them arguing with one another, and I don't know if they're pulling from personal experience arguing with one another as a married couple, but um, it's very intense. It's very good. The acting is very good in this film. That is my biggest takeaway. I was really impressed, especially with Lana. She definitely had the most comprehensive character. Um, and I'm not just saying that because she's one of three major players, but that character in and of itself could have been in a cast of 100 people. It was still written very well, and she did an amazing job portraying all of the different things that this woman is going through. It is a lot. She is going from very much high to very much low, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. She's fighting the alcoholism, and she did an amazing job. She really did. Peter was great as the Reverend, and being able to bring, how do I want to put this without it, like the way the Reverend is written is very by the book, I guess, as they would say, um, but not in the right way. Um, and we could go on a whole tangent about the Bible and how certain things get construed, um, which may have been what they were trying to convey. Like, this guy is a preacher, but he's getting some stuff wrong as far as his interpretation of what he's read in the Bible. And that is why he is the way he is. Um, and that was pretty good. Like I said, they did do a lot of stuff right. Um, and I can appreciate that. I did go back and watch this film a second time, trying to remove myself a little bit more as a Christian from what I was watching to actually really judge the film. And realistically, like I said, 2.8 or 3, if you want to call it that, on IMDb, that's incredibly low because I feel like this film was pretty well executed in what they were, in what they did. You may not like the message like I didn't, but that doesn't negate the fact that what they did was good. It's just not a film for me. I'm not the target audience in this case, is the best way I can put it. But realistically, I would definitely recommend this to people. It's pretty well done. I really like the way I really like the writing style. I really did. I really liked how you get little breadcrumbs of what exactly is going on, and with each little reveal that you get throughout the course of the film, it kind of engages you a little bit more to stick with it. Like, hey, we've given you this little bit. Come with us a little bit further and see what else we got. It was very cleverly written in that regard. So, Brian, Lana, good job for the most part, despite my own personal beliefs. I think you did a really good job writing this film. It's not without its shortcomings, obviously, um, but it's not as bad as a lot of people are saying it is. So, head up, keep doing what you're doing. If you got other stuff to send me, please do. I would love to see more of your work. You guys did a pretty good job on this one, and I appreciate you letting me take a look at it. So, like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram. Go find Behold on your local streaming platform. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see everybody in the next video.